We get to have April Shippy back. I am so excited to have her back here today, and we're going to be talking about finances in the new year.
with a big fancy
So,
title. I was
yes, and she come.
impressed.
I'm s- I'm sorry. What?
I was impressed. It all sounds professional. I hope I can, keep to that standard.
No, it's going to be amazing. We have already talked through the questions, and we're running a little bit late because we started talking and about just different things that we're going to talk about today, and we're really excited to share them with you and to hopefully y'all walk away. Sometimes I think finances seem kind of scary, and like for me, I know, and I've heard other single moms do this too. Like I tend to avoid it or avoid discussions of it because I'm scared for what that will trigger within sometimes. But I love when I get to talk to you because I walk away just so encouraged. You're like, yes, I'm so glad you spent that money on yourself.
And we
And like,
talked about the parameters too. But yes,
yes, so it's just
you're
good.
important too.
Yeah, so today is just going to be encouraging, and I think you're going to walk away inspired, and I'm looking forward to it. So, if you're joining us today, how about you drop in the comments where you're watching from, say hello, maybe, share. Well, I'll think about that. So, let's go ahead and get started. I'm not sure what I was going to say, share something about your financial goals, but that's kind of private and personal. So, let's not do that. But go ahead and say hello to April and welcome her here. And April, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is April. I'm based out of Florida, but technology allows to meet with anybody face to face on Zoom. And I like seeing everybody's faces when I'm talking to them because I have a hard time discerning what's going on if it's like over the phone, or I just like in person a lot better. But I like to work with women who are new to finances, who possibly have had a traumatic background with finances, and try
Mm-hmm.
to help them in a trauma informed way, the best that I can as a coach, to work through some of those things, identify things. Maybe this is something you could talk to your counselor about, that type of a thing. But to then give them foundational, where to start, how to budget, 101 kind of finance. So I don't get into the investment stuff or anything like that, but it's more just trying to get your budget situated, starting to figuring how to make decisions about purchases or savings or that type of thing.
Yes. Well, I meant to mention you're a trauma informed financial coach. So if you go back, we've interviewed April several times throughout this year, just about different aspects. Christmas budgeting for Christmas, budgeting as a single mom, saving money, and different things. And through that, you have always come from the lens of being trauma informed, and I think that is so important when you're learning to balance your finances and budget when you have had finances used as a weapon to control you in the past. So I really appreciate that about you. And so I like to tell our listeners today it's a very safe environment that somebody is going to be talking in with you and helping you understand from a perspective that's trauma informed. So,
Mhm.
all right, well, let's get started. Our first question is, what are the first steps to financially prepare for the new year?
So this can be different for different people. So I was going to list out a few things depending on where you're at, but a lot of times it's just brain dumping all the expenses that you can think of onto a piece of paper, and then trying to categorize them by, I like to categorize them by like housing. So if you have a mortgage, if you have rent, if you have internet, water, gas, whatever utilities that were required for keeping your house up running and all that kind of stuff are important. That's like priority one for your shelter. And then like your extras would be streaming services or cable or super fancy fast internet or that kind of thing. Like there's going to be pockets in there, even though they are necessary for living today, that there could be opportunities for reducing that on a monthly basis if things are tight. Just to keep in mind as you're writing out, categorizing them, kind of a needs versus wants. Because sometimes the big cell phone bill might feel like a need, and cell phones are a need in this day, but there are lower cost options. So there could be some giveaway there. But I like to look at my with the housing and then like your transportation. So whatever goes into your car, your gas, if you have a car payment, if you have tolls where you live or whatever to operate, to be able to get to work if you need to, or take care of the kids. and then some more like the eating, and clothing if you need it for um, functional purposes, and then everything else. So it's kind of like categorizing them in different segments. So
Mhm.
like if you go to Walmart for groceries and clothing and all the things, and that's your standard, that's where you go every single month, you can have like a Walmart budget. So it includes everything. So it can be more high level. It doesn't have to be super detailed. Or if you're like me and you like the super detailed, that's cool too. And then identify long-term goals, something you want to pay, that your bill that comes every year. You want to start saving a little bit each month to go towards that. I think we can get into that a little bit too in the next question, but um, just trying to get everything on paper so that it's out of your head and in front of you. And then you can start making decisions once it's on that paper.
I love that. And I feel like when you're able to make categories for things, it allows you then to say yes to other things too. Like
Mhm.
you're able to be like, oh, okay, this is taken care of. So I know I can
Yes.
save for this, or I know if this comes up, I can do this. And
Yeah.
whether it's taking your kids out to dinner or buying yourself something
Mhm.
that you're looking forward to.
Yeah.
I like the ability to be able to be in control of it. So
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, I feel hindered or trapped, because that can be very triggering when you feel
Yes.
hindered
Yes.
by finances and
Like,
trapped. Because
yes.
when you're abused survivor, you do not like to feel that.
Yes, that's a good point. And I use the word budget, and I know the word budget carries a lot of other terms or feelings with it for some people.
Mhm.
So, like, you could call it a cash flow something.
Mm,
You're like, how
yes.
it's, but to me, a budget is you're identifying, you're having your money work for you. And then it gives you an idea of what I can say yes to, what I can say no to, or what I can say not now to. But that's a big enough goal. I want to start working towards that. So I'm going to put that on my list. So I have like, I would love to buy a bread maker someday, like that's one of these, if I really, really want it, I will put aside $5, $10, whatever money a month towards that item. It's a bigger purchase, and maybe I don't have that right now, and that's okay. Um, so whatever goals you have for savings for the bigger things, that can be identified there too. And it's a yes, but not now type of a plan.
Yes, I like that. Yes, but not now. So wait, wait
And
and
then
see.
it helps you identify, if I do have to get it now, what do I have to give up here in this other area to make up for?
Hmm.
Credit cards, I'm not totally against credit cards, but I know credit cards can become a crutch. So, there's some people that need to avoid it completely. Some people can use it as an emergency type of a thing, but paying off credit cards is also something that we can work towards, to have that freedom of not being obligated to pay to somebody else.
Yes, I like that. And then we have a question here. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask it. If you receive credits, like for internet service or government assistance, like food stamps or Medicaid, where do you put that on your budget worksheet? Like for food stamps, would you count those as income or just reduce your grocery expense since you're not paying with cash?
You really could do either way. I personally like to see it on the spreadsheet. And so I would put a line item under income. And if it's something that is going to change because of whatever your situation is, if it's tied to how many kids you have or what age they are, if it's coming up for a change within that next year, you can plug that into a future month and see how that changes your budget. And so it gives you a little more flexibility. But sometimes keeping that extra line item can become overwhelming for some people. And so, using that, if it's not on the budget though, it can start to become invisible. And then you forget that benefits there, or start things can become a little more stressful because you forget something is already covered because you've already got a million things going on. So I personally would include it on my budget spreadsheet and maybe put groceries, assistance, and then groceries, and having two different line items on your expenses too. So when you fill up that one, everything else goes into the other bucket. But I like to have visibility to that. So there's trying to reduce the uncertainty or the things I might forget.
I love that. That was so wise. That's such a good perspective, is that we can get used to something and then forget that it's there. It's just nice to be able to see as a whole and be able to understand, okay, this is what it takes for me to live. This is what it,
Mhm.
means to have
Yeah.
that perspective at all times, and are able to save in case something
Yeah.
happens, something's delayed, or along those lines as well.
Mhm.
I think that's really, really wise. That
And
was
there's
excellent.
no shame in government assistance
No,
whatsoever.
not not
But
at all.
some women want to have that on their note too, so they, like you said, they know their full budget. And if you have a goal of getting off of government assistance, or at some point you do, you know what it's going to take. And so
Hmm.
that'll kind of give you a guideline for future decisions if that's a goal that you have. And depending on your situation, that may not happen anytime soon. But each person's so unique. There's no shame in being on it, and there's no shame in trying to get off of it either. It's just helping you make the decisions you need to reach the goals that you have for your family.
Wow. Yes, and something that's on my mind too is a lot of times government assistance can disappear when you start making more money or different things like that. So it kind of lets you know too, as a perspective, if I were to accept a higher paying position, this is exactly what I need to be able to make it. So you have that whole picture there. So you're not being like, oh, I get more money here, but I realize like, oh, I now am in a worse pit than I was before because I feel like I
Yeah,
can't get the assistance and I need it. So it just
yeah.
kind of allows me to be in control and understand too, and to be able to make decisions that come up wisely.
Mhm.
So I think that's really
Yeah.
awesome.
You can even put a note like on your income limit of receiving that, so that you remember this is my number, and if I exceed that, I need to exceed it by this much to
Hmm.
cover this extra or whatever.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective. And this will go to our next question. What are some major blind spots we should watch out for in building a budget?
Well, and I think a lot of times mine is stuff comes up with the kids at school, and I never added that to the budget. Or school supplies. I don't know why that stuff always shows up, but there's always these annual things, or they outgrow their clothes. There's stuff like that, but like those annual things, like I have AAA insurance because I have used it enough for towing my car to make it worth it. But if I don't have that written down, I'm going to forget that's going to show up. And mine shows up right before Christmas. So it's like, oh goodness, right in the middle of everything. And that could just cause a lot of stress. But if you put it on your future, like every month I put money in my savings account for those annual purchases, or those annual or semi-annual, like insurance, car insurance, or something like that. If it's more than once a month or something, you can put it save towards it in the future. I think a lot of times those every once in a while payments get lost in the shuffle and can become hiccups or roadblocks to some that month, and then you feel kind of defeated. So having some money set aside for those future payments, I think, would help a lot.
Yes, I always forget my Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Have it at Christmas.
But they don't forget to charge
It's a
you.
party. Yeah,
Yeah.
I Prime way too much.
Yeah.
Everybody needs some form of crutch, I guess. As a single mom, you got to figure out something,
Yeah.
and mine is
Well,
definitely Prime.
that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. Like there's the financial value of something, and then there's the, I guess, softer value. And that's also
Hmm.
something to consider when you're making purchases. I mean, there's a time where it's black and white. Money is super important. There's not enough space for those gray areas.
Hmm.
Getting those first 3 months or so of a brand new budget under control, what's coming in and out. And then you can start considering what those gray areas might be. And that could be like upgrading your hair care, upgrading your skincare,
Sorry, we were just
upgrading
talking about that.
the things that make you feel better as a person.
Yes.
So when you stand in public,
Yes.
you're more confident in who you are and your skin. And it might feel um, superficial.
Hmm.
Um, and then that allows shame and different words to come into your mind. But that's not what we're going for. We're going for confidence in that you are worth feeling good about yourself. But
Hmm.
that might come at a price. You might find cheaper, more economical ways to achieve those goals than somebody else. Something might work better for you than somebody else, but you are worth investing in as a human being.
Hmm.
just as much as you are, taking care of your kids and everything else. Um, but because what flows out of you is what's most beneficial to your kids.
Hmm.
So just giving yourself some love when it's available, it's okay as well. You can balance that when you have your budget written down or your cash flow statement or whatever you want to look at it to see, you have to make decisions on, okay, I am wanting to save for this trip or a car or something like that, but this $100 purchase will help my well-being more than that $100. And so you kind of take it from a different bucket and you push that one off a little bit longer, and then you can take care of yourself, and that helps you present better to the world in a way that you're more confident and more established and grounded. Or even like
Yes.
counseling sessions or whatever it is to help you
Yeah,
feel better for your self-care.
I love that. Yeah, and I didn't need to laugh out loud, but we were just talking about that. For my
Yeah.
birthday, I bought myself nice shampoo and conditioner, and then when I saw April, I was like, "Guess what? I bought a nice blow dryer for myself for Christmas." She's like, "That's so important because it's
Mm,
investing in yourself." And I have a budget, and I'm working ahead and saving, and I'm like, "Oh, I have extra money here." And sometimes we can feel very guilty of not always using it for other people or whatever way. But it's okay to sometimes say, "You know what? I'm going to do something for myself here, and this is something that I enjoy here and
yeah.
makeup." So I invested in that for my birthday and Christmas, and that's okay.
And some women have been told that you're selfish for whatever reason. And part of combating that in a positive way, when you have your budget, you can start making decisions in an intentional way, which is why I picked the intentional money coaching, but being very intentional about I'm doing this because I'm worth it, and
Hmm.
it's not because I'm selfish. And you can start combating those negative statements we have that have been embedded in our system, because a lot of that drives money. Money is so tied to emotions, and so
Hmm.
how you spend your money says a lot about you, but it also gives you some insight in where you can work on some areas, or maybe you can work on changing your mindset about things too.
That's so beautiful. And something that's hitting my mind too is abuse survivors a lot of times are made to feel very worthless with money.
Mhm.
Like their abusers may have made them feel really little and very small if they spent money on frivolous things, whether that's a nice outfit for themselves. I mean, if it was in the budget, not saying
Yeah.
you should not buy something that you can't afford. That's not a wise idea, but something you can't afford, but making them feel guilty while they spent maybe hundreds of dollars on themselves. But if you spent 30 on you, you were considered, as they would say, selfish. And that was just part of the abuse pattern. And so it's really
Yeah.
hard sometimes, I think, to get out. But that's where we can come in, which will lead into our next question, with speaking the truth over ourselves. And actually, I mean, Jesus is our healer, but healing, allowing Jesus to heal us through the positive affirmations through money, if that makes sense. Like speaking,
Yeah.
I am worthy of this because Jesus says I am worthy. Well, actually, we're worthy of nothing. I feel weird saying this. Maybe it's my own processing, but it's okay to spend money. Jesus is thinks that we are
Mhm.
worth that if he provides extra and we feel that we can and we're giving and we're doing as we're supposed to be able to spend this on ourselves, that is okay to do.
Right.
And yes,
Because
I'll
we're
let you take.
combating. No, you're doing great, but it's not so much that, because money and for some women has been so restricted and
Mhm.
such shame around how money was spent, that breaking those or um, coming up against those and questioning it with a genuine curiosity of, is this been programmed in me, or is this a legitimate concern? And and trying to figure out for yourself what is actually the negative. Is it a protection mechanism, or just being curious about those feelings that come up when you think of money or you think of your checking account, or pausing. And I think that's part of that being still verse in the Bible. It's not just stop moving, it's resting and allowing God to, that genuine curiosity is allowing God to work through you to find those areas to repair, to heal, to grow, and to then release to him. Like that stillness has to be there, that safety needs to be there, that all that needs to be there in order for you to have that curiosity, and just kind of pause button on the panic and slow it down a bit so that you can start rewiring your brain.
Wow, and that's beautiful too. And that's just something a friend of mine always said to me is don't condemn yourself, but look at it with curiosity and approach it.
Yeah.
And that's just so important. And I think sometimes I don't think about that in the areas of money, like to be like,
Mhm.
oh, why do I feel this way? It's just money. So many
Mhm.
times we just think money's of the world, and so we just kind of cut out of it the ways that really maybe we're deeply wounded and we need to connect with God in this and trusting him and just looking at those things with curiosity. Why do I feel guilty when I spend money on myself if the budget's there? And instead of just being like, oh, just cutting that off immediately and being like, oh, I don't want to feel this, don't want to think that, because that's the
Mhm.
wrong Christian thing to do, if that
Right,
makes
right. Money can be, but in a
sense.
lot of cases, I would say all cases of the audience that we're speaking to, it has been misused. Even those Bible verses where
Mm-hmm.
you have been told you're being frivolous, but you don't, your definition, what God's definition of what that might mean is totally different than what has been applied to your decisions. And so it's breaking the chains of the negativity around the money and allowing it to be a tool that you can use to do good in the world. And you and God get to decide what that is. Um, and it's going to take mistakes. It's going to take, but that genuine curiosity of circling back around to where's my heart in this? What does God actually say about this?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what's this feeling going on inside of me? Like there's a reason that feeling's there, and trying to figure out if it's justified, it's trying to protect you, or if it's, a negative lie that needs to be uprooted.
Wow, I love that. So I am excited to get into our next question because I feel like it's definitely leading there, and you're giving me so much to think about myself. I hope everybody else here is feeling and as encouraged as I am. Um, and so my next question is, as you talked about, what are some positive affirmations that we can give ourselves surrounding money so that we can bring wholeness and healing in our relationship with God and money?
Yeah. And like we were talking earlier, to me, positive affirmations are just a sentence, something you can repeat over and over in your head. Now, that sentence um, isn't going to fit for every single person, but the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of the positive affirmation is to stop the negative and trying to replace it with something that's positive. And usually, just a one sentence um, statement is quick enough that oh, hold on, no, I can do this or whatever. And then it can just start that process. So as someone's working through their positive affirmations, they're working on how that actually going to work out in their life. So I have created some positive affirmations that I have the statements on the top, and then there's words, and then like self-reflection questions. So like this one says, I am capable of achieving my financial goals.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean maybe you have the income or expenses aren't matching up right now, but you are capable of doing the work to figure it out, that eventually down the road, whatever it takes, I can achieve my financial goals. So it's the purpose is it to keep it short and keep it pointed and to disrupt the negative thinking of I'm never going to do this. So it's giving you hope in a direction that's positive. You are capable. You are capable of asking questions. You are capable of seeking the government assistance. You are capable of doing whatever you need to do to reach those financial goals. You have your goals that you're making are worthy, they are appropriate for your situation, and that type of thing is all kind of talked through in the wording. And then like some self-reflection questions around that particular affirmation is, what are some goals I have achieved in the past? So if you have goals, even if they're little or big, to look in the past, I can do this, I've done it before, and I can continue to move forward. or what have you learned from those decisions you've made in the past that you can improve upon or keep that quality about you as you move forward. Do my financial goals seem realistic to me? Are they high enough to feel exciting without seemingly overly challenging? And also, goals don't have to be met exactly to be successful. And so, even if you're reaching a higher goal and you miss it, you're probably going to be higher towards what you really need than what you would have been if you had a lower goal and you just stopped when you met that goal. So, even giving yourself space in your goals, you want to work hard. You're capable of working hard, but if you don't get to that goal, you have come so far than you would have without that goal. And so the purpose of goals is not actually, I have to meet this goal to have worth in me. That goal is to help you get to a spot of learning how to do the baby steps to get towards, okay, now I have so much more knowledge of how to get there. I can make even better decisions. So next year's goal, I'm going to do even bigger, or whatever that goal is. And then you break down from your goal, what small steps daily can I take to remind myself to trust that this abundance, maybe not financially, maybe emotionally, whatever that abundance means to you, is coming towards you, that God is loving you. Is He helping release negative words over you? Is He helping to identify these things? And that it's going to start to snowball those daily things that you are taking the time, either in the morning to read your positive affirmation like 5 times in the morning, or at lunch, or anytime you're in the bathroom, or wherever you put it, read through those a couple times, and then just trying to get it in your mind that this is, I'm changing, I'm going to do this. And so I have found that helps a lot with money too, and just trying to take it and catch it when you're getting that feeling like, hold on, I am capable of achieving my financial goals. I may not have the tools available to me yet, but I am capable of finding them and asking questions and seeking out answers, and this will happen. So that gives releases that pull backwards into giving hope to go forward. That's the purpose of positive affirmations.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anything else that, any questions anybody had? If you have them, you want to ask them. If you're watching this later, you can always ask, and I can tag April because she's on Facebook, and she can come back and come answer them. And then I also wanted to mention that she has a financial coaching business, and we can drop a link to that in the comments as well. So if you're interested in talking with her further and finding out maybe if working together would be a good fit for you to be able to kind of get on your financial goals, you can definitely connect with her.
And I have a 30-minute consultation for complimentary, just to make sure we're a good fit, because it's not easy talking to somebody about money, and you just want to make sure that you feel comfortable with that person as well as for your situations, because sometimes I focus on that foundational budgeting, and sometimes people have like a lot of more complicated questions, and I can help refer. If I know somebody, I can refer in that consultation to somebody else too. But like these affirmations I put on Etsy for just, if you want them super cheap, to do, have them available for whenever. And I have a bunch more I want to put on there, but it's just another way for people to be proactive about their healing with their money.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I always enjoy talking to you. And I hope everybody else is encouraged today. And we look forward to having you back again soon.
Thank you.
I thank you, everybody. Y'all have a good afternoon. Oh, somebody is asking a question. We'll answer that really quickly.
Yeah.
Any apps you recommend to help with budgeting?
There, off the top of my head is, oh no, I can't think of it. Dave Ramsey has a free one that's super simple. It's really basic. And there's another one, I can't think if it's free or not, but I'm pretty sure they have a free part. I will put those in the comments. Then some ideas, because I can't think of them right now, but those are good questions.
They are. Thank you. All right. Well, yes, I'll let you. Yes,
Yeah.
every dollar budget. Is that one of
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, that's a free one. You can pay to upgrade, but it's just super simple and it just does that 1 month. But there's a couple other ones if you want to get more in depth too that I can put on there. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. And like I said, if you have more questions, we will. I'll definitely tag April in them, and we can come back and watch them because I know some people will probably be watching this at a later time. So everybody have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.